So in order to work on collisions, you're going to need a couple of things. And first of all is two canvases. These are so you can put sprites on them, and then you're going to have to add the sprites. I would suggest that you add at least two sprites on the top screen, the canvas, and then three sprites on the bottom canvas. For the top canvas, you need to make it 550 pixels wide, and then 250 pixels high. And then for the bottom one, you need to do the same thing for the width, but for the height, you need to make it 40. And then you move on. You can make the cube whatever you want as long as it's 20 by 20 pixels, because that is a decent size where you can see what you're doing and still work on the collisions. On this we have a obstacle here which will end the game, and we also have a door that is the clear for the game. The white thing you see in the middle of the map, that is the ground that the cube will be colliding with. Each of these three things works with collisions. So once you get all your stuff done for the top canvas, you're going to need to add 3 buttons to the bottom canvas. I would suggest an arrow, a square, and another arrow. Both the arrows pointing in opposite directions to indicate left or right. The square will be your jump button, and you will see how we use that in the future when we enter the blocks editor. Now you need to add 6 timers. Name these timers to the appropriate: clock left, clock right, clock jump, clock gravity, jump time, and clock cube stopper. These will allow you to control the collisions and allow you to progress through the app without any errors. You also, for clarification, should name your obstacles to define your obstacles and name the cube to cube, so it's just more clear. I've also named the ground to ground 1 because if you need to add multiple grounds, it won't accept if you're doing the same thing for a different ground. And now we're going to open up the blocks editor to show you. So right here we have ground 1 collide with, and we've named this to object hit by ground 1. And under the do we put an if statement. With the if statement we will test if the object hit by ground 1 is the cube, and if it is, then it'll do clock gravity timer enabled, and I will bring that up to show you. What this does is it sets your cube heading to 270, which is down, and the speed to 2, which is the default speed that we will use. Second, we will have jump enabled, and we will bring that up. The first one is jump touched, and when you touch the jump button, it'll turn jump enabled to false and jump so that you can't double jump, and it'll set the jump timer enabled to true, clock jump timer enabled to true, and the gravity timer to false. This will allow you to do so without the timer firing and setting you back to the ground. And then we have the jump time timer, which will turn once you jump high enough, it'll turn the jump timer to false, and we're pulling the clock jump timer up right now. And jump sets the cube's heading to 90 and the speed to 3 for an effective jump. And we're going back to and then once that is over, it'll set the gravity timer to true and the jump time to false, so that you don't have it firing and you don't go through the floor, which is important because you want a pure collision, not something that stops for 1 second and then moves on. You see that under ground 1, it sets the cube heading to 0. This is so that you don't continue going the wrong way. It'll also set the cube stopper timer to true, and the cube stopper will simply just stop the cube and activate another timer, which will set the cube speed to 0 and then stop itself, so that you don't have to rapidly tap your buttons. You just have to hold them down. And then we're going to bring up the left-right controls and their timers. Now we use a touch up, touch down because when it touches up, you want it to stop, and when you touch it down, you want it to go. And this allows you to hold them down for as long as you want without having anything continue when you touch it up or stop and you have to touch it down again. It'll just be infinite. And so when you when you activate when you touch down on your move right or move left, it'll set the cube's heading to whatever way you are moving at the time, and it'll enable the corresponding timer. What the timer will do is actually set the heading and the speed. For the jump, it'll set the cube's heading, like we said, to 90 and 3, and it'll continue on its respective timer. Note that we've also included death collide with and exit collide with. This is simply your winning goals of the game. If you were to collide with these two, it activates a standard if-then routine. Like round 1 collisions, it'll define what the object is hit by, and then if it equals the cube, it'll set the cube's speed to 0, and it'll open up a different screen, which will be your win. For the death, it'll do the same thing, except instead of opening a win screen, it'll open a death screen, which you probably don't want in this case. But this is Collisions all wrapped up in simplicity, and I hope you learned something from this. Bye.